Krishna. So we are very very happy to be given this chance by Sri Radha Gopinath Temple to speak in this wonderful series of the Bhagavad Kovida. Today, as it has been decided, between today and tomorrow, we are going to speak about the life lessons from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Before we begin, we would like to, invoke auspiciousness and seek blessings of our today's acharyas. Om Gyan Timirandrasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, just like to briefly give a background of what exactly is this Brihad Bhagavatamrita. As it has been written by Srinivas Acharya in the Sada Goswami Astakam, Nana Shastra Vichara Naik Nipuno Sadharma Samsthapako. The six Goswamis of Vrindavan, they studied various scriptures, and they established Sadharma Samsthapako, they established religious principles. And of the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, one of the Goswamis is our beloved Shripad Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami, as we understand, has written many books. Of four are his major books. Four major books he's written is Hari Bhakti Vilas. Then he has written the Vaishnava Toshini, which is the commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Krishna Lilastava. And then, of course, the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Srila Prabhupada, very interestingly, says that in one of the purports which he has written in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, he said that Sri Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, the teacher of the science of devotional service, wrote several books, of which Brihad Bhagavatamrita is very famous. Very interesting now. What he writes is, anyone who wants to know about the subject matter of devotees, devotional service and Krishna must read this book. And then further he explains in another purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita. First, Sanatana Goswami compiled a book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita to teach people how to become devotees, execute devotional service and attain love of Krishna. And it is after he wrote the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it is explained by Prabhupada, that he wrote the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is nothing but establishes various scriptural injunctions on how a Vaishnava should behave. So Sanatana Goswami wrote this book primarily to establish a devotional service as a very important principle. The whole book is establishing, and as we discuss further, as has been explained further, the book establishes nothing but pure devotional service, and a very interesting aspect about pure devotional service. It is said that the first part, Bhagavatamrita is basically in two parts. Two parts which is being divided. The first part is an analytical study of devotional service, in which there is descriptions of different planets, including the Earth planet, the heavenly planets, Brahmaloka, Vaikuntha Loka, describing various devotees, demigods, intimate devotees, very intimate devotees, and perfected devotees. But the theme, the main theme, my dear friends, is a very important principle that we as Vaishnavas need to learn. As we said, this is basically a topic about the life teachings from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So it is very easy, in one sense, to just hear the various scriptures and hear the katha, and no doubt it has tremendous benefit to all of us by hearing in Krishna Katha. It is explained, Machita Madagada Prana Bodhyantascha Parasparam Kathyantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. It brings about Tushyanti, brings satisfaction, and Ramanti, great pleasure in our hearts. But apart from hearing the scriptures, it is also very, very important to really practice what we have heard. That is very important, because when we hear, the duty of the speaker is done. And of course, the speaker has to follow what he speaks, but it is also important that we practice what we hear. Otherwise, it just becomes too shallow. So one of the very important principles of Vaishnavism is how we relate to devotees, relationships amongst devotees. Vaishnava relationships is very, very important. And it is explained, I was just thinking that the true test of relationship is not on how loyal we are when our friends fail, or when our devotees, they fail, they go through some trouble. How loyal we are at that time. Yes, it is required that we be loyal, we be nice, we be kind, we be very, very helpful. No doubt that is required. But that's not the test of relationships. The real test of relationship is not how loyal when we are, when relationships with friends, when the friends fail, but how thrilled we are when they succeed, isn't it? We have two things, that when they fail, it is natural in one sense, it is very easy also, because it could give us a superiority complex that, well, he's failed and I must be nice to him or nice to her, help him or her. Yeah? But how thrilled we are when they succeed is the real test of relationship. And my dear friends, that's exactly what this Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the first part that we will be discussing, is based upon. And by hearing these various Vaishnavas, how they see themselves, and how they see their superiors or people whom they consider to be superior, and how they glorify them, is going to really affect us. And hopefully our hope and our prayer is that hopefully this mentality of this great Vaishnavas they are going to be discussing today will rub on us. As we say that, when somebody puts a lot of perfume and you just happen to come in touch with that person, it rubs on us and we start smelling of that perfume even though we are not put it. But our prayer is that these Vaishnavas, but as we discussed, their qualities, they rub on us, and then we will learn this very, very important principle of being very thrilled. One is that the most obnoxious is that we tolerate people's success, that we tolerate that when they are successful. That's the least, that's the Kanishta understanding. But that higher may be that, we don't tolerate, but we are happy. That's better, no doubt, that's better. But the highest, the way a Vaishnava sees somebody successful, very difficult, but that's the Vaishnava way of doing things, is that he celebrates other people's success. He is in ecstasy, he is very blissful to see other people succeeding. And these wonderful devotees that we are going to discuss today. Of course, we are not going to be able to cover the whole thing, but the temple has told that as every month there will be Bhagavata Kovida, and we will be covering slowly, a portion of it every month. So that's how this is going to be covered. So that's the main bottom line of this particular discussion about how we can learn to see other people's success and how we can glorify them. And by seeing them and glorifying them and being happy with what they are, we will make rapid progress in Krishna consciousness. So let's begin. Let's begin our discussion. Sanatana Goswami, he begins his discussion, by this Mangalacharan. By this Mangalacharan, he says that Mangalacharan is where he invokes the auspiciousness, the blessings. Before beginning anything, my dear friends, it is very, very important to invoke the blessings, the auspiciousness in our lives. Because we understand that we are, we may be doing something, but it is the higher powers which really empower us, which really, help us to really do that thing in much, much better way. So Sridhar Goswami also beautifully, he dedicates the first 7 verses of this beautiful scripture as Mangalacharan, where he glorifies Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his Guru, the Lord Himself. He glorifies Srimati Radharani. We will discuss each of them. He glorifies Mathura Devi, the presiding deity of Sri Mathura Dham. He glorifies Sri Vrindavan Dham. And then he glorifies the river Yamuna, Sri Giriraj Govardhan. Then he glorifies Krishna's Prema Bhakti. And finally, the Krishna's holy names. So this is how Sri Sadhana Goswami begins his beautiful scripture, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He starts with the saying that Anarpita charim chirat karuna avatirno kalo samapayatum unnato jala rasam sa bhaktim shriya haripurda sundara dudi kandama satipita sada hridaya kandare spurtava sachinandana. We have these beautiful words written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, when he says that Anarpita charim chirat karuna avatirna kalo. It is explained that something which was never ever given before, Anarpita, something was never given before. And what was that? The pure love of Radha and Krishna, the mellow of devotional service, which was never ever given before, but was given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu profusely. So Sadhana Goswami is seeking the blessings of that Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came as a devotee. I said, I seek blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because it is by his blessings that I write the scripture which is exclusively dedicated to devotional service. So he's seeking the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's very, very important to understand the glorious, important position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he goes on to take blessings of Sri Mathura Devi. And you must be wondering, why Mathura Devi? Why is it that Mathura Devi is so very, very important? So it is explained that it is in Mathura that Krishna he performed. It's explained that the Mathura is explained in the Skanda Purana, that Mathura is those who have material desires. Mathura gives 3 aims of human work. For those who want liberation, Mathura grants liberation. And those rare souls who want pure devotion, Mathura gives them pure devotion. So Mathura gives economic development, sense gratification, liberation, and also pure devotional service. So that is why it's explained by Sanatana Goswami. He very clearly mentions that Mathura is a very, very dear place, and he explains it is a dear place of whose? The killer of Kamsa. It's very, very specific, because Mathura is a place where Kamsa was killed, and that place is very dear to Krishna, which is the place where Kamsa was killed. I see blessings of Sri Mathura Dham, because the Mathura Dham gives it gives whatever you need. And for those devotees who are wanting pure devotional service, Mathura gives that pure devotional service. And then further on, he takes blessings. He said, I take blessings on the place where we are residing, where Sadhana Goswami is residing, is writing the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is the forest of Murari, Sri Vrindavan Dham. And it's explained, he writes, he's quoting Srimad Bhagavatam, he's quoting and he's saying, Vrindavanam Govardhanam Yamuna Puline cha Vakshasid Uttama Priti Rama Madhavo Nripa. It's explained that, O King Parikshit, when Rama and Krishna saw Vrindavan, Govardhan, and the banks of Yamuna, they both were greatly pleased and their great pleasure. So he's seeking the blessings of Sri Vrindavan Dham, because it's the place where Krishna Balram was greatly pleased and very, very happy. So this is again very, very important. Please, while we are talking about these holy places, let us in our mind also seek blessings of Sri Mathura Dham, of Sri Vrindavan Dham. We all can in a Mansi way go to these places, and then he's seeking the blessings of Sri Jamuna Devi. And he's writing a very interesting thing, something which I found very interesting. Why is Jamuna very special? Because Jamuna served the Lord in Gokul, Mathura, and even in Dwarka. And you will wonder, why in Dwarka? Because in the form of Kalindi, as the queen, she was serving Krishna. So this Jamuna Devi is so very special that she is so desirous to serve that he served Krishna in Mahavan, which is the Vrindavan, in Mathura where Krishna spent, and then she goes on to serve Krishna in Dwarka. So she is seeking the blessings of Sri Jamuna Devi to really write this beautiful scripture. And then he goes on to really glorify this holy, holy, beautiful land of Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. He's explaining in his that it's a beautiful verse. Hanta yam adri abala harida savaryo yad Rama Krishna charana sparsha pramoda mamam tanoti sahaganoso tayoyat pani yashuvasa kandara kandamulam. Is explaining that this Giriraj Govardhan is so special that it gives the coward friends, it supplies the caves, it supplies fruits, vegetables, water for drinking, very soft grass, and that's how he's glorifying Sri Giriraj Govardhan, and he's seeking the blessings of Sri Giriraj to really begin the beautiful description. And then he goes on to glorify Krishna Bhakti. He's explaining that Krishna Bhakti is so special that Mukti is sitting at the feet of Krishna Bhakti. That Krishna's devotees are so very attached to the process of Bhakti that Mukti comes and wants to serve the lotus feet of Krishna's devotees, but they don't care a fig for Mukti. That is how he glorifies the glorious position of Krishna Bhakti. And it's very, very rare. He's explaining the word. He said, Sudurlabha. He writes in the verse that this Krishna Bhakti is Sudurlabha. So that is why he's seeing the blessings of this process of Krishna Bhakti, by which we can really get the blessings to really make progress, and something which even Mukti, which is desired by majority of people, they work very hard, but Mukti comes at the feet of Bhakti to serve Bhakti, and he's taking the blessings of this. And then finally, he's glorifying the holy names of the Lord, the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That it is this holy name which gives all the benedictions that the devotees want. Whether they want, if they want some economic development, Sanatana Goswami said, don't go anywhere else, chant Hare Krishna. If they want some sense gratification, don't go anywhere else, chant Hare Krishna. But he said that's not the purpose of chanting Hare Krishna. The real purpose of chanting Hare Krishna is that it gives us pure, unalloyed love for Radha and Krishna. So he said, I want to seek these blessings of Krishna Bhakti, and the process of Krishna Bhakti is nothing but these beautiful holy names of the Lord. And then he goes on to explain how the history of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita.
Brihad Bhagavatamrita, actually in Sanatan Goswami, in this particular scripture, it collects the essence from all the other scriptures about devotional service. It is primarily glorifying the process of devotional service, that how powerful is the process of devotional service. So Brihad Bhagavatamrita collects essence of all the scriptures, from Vedic scriptures, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Mahabharata, whatever the scriptures are available, and it is not a fiction. It is a real pastime which has happened. Sanatana Goswami has understood and realized this, and he says that I have done this only by the causeless mercy of my brother Rupa Goswami, and I have taken the shelter of Lord Gauranga. You can see the greatness of Sanatana Goswami here. He is actually Guru of Rupa Goswami. He used to guide Rupa Goswami in devotional service. But here he is explaining that only by the causeless mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami I am able to write this. And because I have taken shelter of Lord Chaitanya. So we can learn from this particular writings of Sanatana Goswami that how important it is to have such intimate and loving exchanges amongst devotees. We can see the relationship of Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. There is no competition. There is no feeling of superiority. Instead, he is saying that whatever I am today, it is by the mercy of Rupa Goswami. So we can see, unless and until we actually understand that what is the nature, real nature of a real Vaishnava, we cannot understand Krishna. So this particular scripture emphasizes on what is actually a real nature of a devotee, what actually a devotee is seeking in his heart, what does he or she want. And as we hear more and more, as we understand more and more from Brihad Bhagavatamrita, our heart will be transformed just by hearing these different examples. Hearing is a very, very powerful process. Especially in Grihastha ashram, it is very important that we take shelter of Shravana. Grihastha ashram is where we are continuously engaged in so many activities. But if we know what is that one thing which can help us in making very fast progress in devotional service in Grihastha ashram, then let me tell you, it is here the process of hearing and chanting. Many times I tell that if you take a brahmachari ashram and grihastha ashram, what is the difference, main difference? The brahmacharis have very strict morning sadhana. They have very strict morning chanting, morning program, hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then during the day, they are doing routine activities like all the grihasthas do. So, grihasthas, brahmacharis have that strict routine because they are staying in the temple. But if grihasthas, they are able to maintain that strict routine at home, and especially of hearing and chanting, then by the process of hearing, what happens is our subtle intelligence develops. Because subtle intelligence, when you hear a katha, when you hear from Bhagavatam or Mahabharata or Brihad Bhagavatam, it takes out the subtle meaning, right? That how it is important in this particular pastime, this devotee showed such humility, tolerance, gratitude. And then subtly, when we nourish our intelligence with all these qualities by hearing the pastime, during the day, when we are performing different activities, when we are interacting with different, whether devotees or outsiders, that subtle intelligence which is empowered by the process of hearing helps us to discriminate what is good for our Krishna consciousness and what is not good for our Krishna consciousness. So, main aspect of hearing Brihad Bhagavatamrita is to learn from this example of different devotees that how they actually interact and how performing their various responsibilities in the material world, still they were advancing in the process of devotional service, going higher and higher level of Krishna consciousness. So the history begins with the King Janmejaya. King Janmejaya is son of Parikshit Maharaj, and he was listening from Jaimini Rishi Mahabharata. Now there are two Mahabharatas. One Mahabharata which is written by Vedvyas, and one Mahabharata which is written by Jaimini Rishi. The Mahabharata which is written by Vedvyas, in that there are mainly pastimes of Pandavas and how they, in their life, they went through so many difficulties and how Krishna helped them. Right? But in Jaimini Mahabharata, there is more pastimes of pure devotional service directly showing supremacy of Lord Krishna. More about showing supremacy of Lord Krishna. In Vedvyas's Mahabharata, there are more pastimes which is more focused around Pandavas, but in Jaimini Mahabharata, it is more focused around supremacy of pure devotional service and directly about Krishna. So when Janmejaya heard from Jaimini Rishi Mahabharata, he was asking him that, can you tell me more details because I am so excited to hear about this pastimes. Now, Sanatana Goswami mentions that Harivansha is a supplement to Vedvyas's Mahabharata. Similarly, Brihad Bhagavatamrita is supplement to Jaimini Rishi's Mahabharata. And Jaimini Rishi begins where Parikshit Maharaj has finished hearing Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days and 7 nights attentively at the bank of Mother Ganges in the association of thousands of rishis. And now he's sitting peacefully, meditating, just patiently waiting the Takshat Nag will come and I will leave my body. But he was already constantly meditating on Lord Krishna. At that time, he was at the bank of Mother Ganga, but his mother was Uttara, who was the daughter of King Virata, who was in a far-off palace. She came and she wanted to meet her son. Now, can we understand? Let us understand the history of Uttara. Uttara, she was a young girl who got married to Abhimanyu, and within months she became a widow when her child was right in her womb. And during the war of Mahabharata, Ashwatthama, he attacked Uttara's womb with Brahmastra. And actually, the Brahmastra happened to kill the child in the womb. But Lord Krishna entered. Uttara was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and she just wholeheartedly she prayed to Lord Krishna that please protect this child, because he was the only Ansh left of the Pandavas. All the other children of the Pandavas were killed. So she prayed very sincerely, and Krishna actually entered the womb of Uttara. And when he entered the womb of Uttara, and he revived the the son who was already dead, and the Brahmastra was pushed out, and that's how the child was protected. And as soon as that child came out, everywhere he would look for that personality whose darshan he had in the womb. And who was this? That's why his name was Parikshit. Parikshit Maharaj is at this point of time, he is such a powerful king, and because of his presence, Kali could not enter. But now, because of the curse of Shami Krishi's son, he had to. The curse was that he will die in 7 days. And what did Parikshit Maharaj do? He did not think that what should I make my wheel, what should I do? He just came at the bank of Ganges, and he asked all the sages that please tell me, a man who is about to die in 7 days, what is his primary duty? What is the goal of life? Shukdev Goswami, who was chosen unanimously by all the sages who spoke about Srimad Bhagavatam. And now Parikshit Maharaj finished hearing this, and Uttara comes there, and we can understand. So Parikshit Maharaj was waiting at the bank of Ganges, and his mother Uttara, she came from all the way from Hastinapur, and she started talking to him, and she was telling him that, my dear son, she was in fact, actually we can understand what must be her mental status, because she was a widow, and also her in-laws, her father-in-laws, all 5 father-in-laws, Pandavas, and Queen Draupadi, Subhadra, all had left. The only person whom she had, who was so dear to her, was her son. And at this point of time, her son was also going to go away. So we can understand in her heart that it must be so much pain and distress. But she was such a great devotee of Lord Krishna that when she came to Parikshit Maharaj, she did not express her grief, but she said, my dear son, you have heard for 7 days and nights continuously the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, and from the mouth of Shukdev Goswami, a continuous flow of nectar. Please, in brief, tell me the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can see here her eagerness to hear, that instead of talking about her grief, she just wanted to know that what is the essence, because probably this is the last conversation she's having on the planet who is so close to her. And at that time, instead of expressing anything else, she just wanted to grab this opportunity to learn from Parikshit Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada mentions that a woman in her childhood, she is dependent on her father. Once she is married, she is protected by her husband, and in her old age by her son. So here we can see that she actually was gathering all the information from her son. And Parikshit Maharaj, at that time, looking at her eagerness, he replied that, my dear mother, actually I am just supposed to sit and meditate on Lord Krishna because I am about to leave my body. But looking at your eagerness, I am feeling that I should mention whatever I have gathered from the scripture. And she actually says that, my dear son, as the demigods and demons, they churned the ocean of milk and they brought out the nectar. Similarly, you churn this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam and give me the nectar. As we understand, sometimes we go to this drink sugarcane juice, and they put lots of sugarcane in the machine and it comes out in the form of a glass of juice. So similarly, Mother Uttara, she is requesting Parikshit Maharaj that please give me the nectar of whatever you have heard. And in that reply, Parikshit Maharaj started telling her about Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which actually Jaimini Rishi starts talking about it to Janmejaya. So the a whole process in Brihad Bhagavatam. This is the history, and it begins basically about a journey of Narad Muni in the search of greatest devotee or the dearmost devotee or the devotee who has received who is the recipient of the greatest mercy of Lord Shri Krishna. And this particular book, it goes on different levels from earth planet to heavenly planet to beyond the material world, and then devotees who are dear, then beloved devotees and dear devotees and the dearmost devotees. So it goes on escalating on different levels of devotees. And the person who is moving in search of the greatest devotees is Narada Muni. Please understand the divine great position of Narad Muni. Narad Muni, Nara is the Nara means human beings, Manushya, and Da means the who gives instruction. So Narad Muni's position is very, very unique for the process of devotional service, because he is that son of Lord Brahma who can travel throughout. He's a transcendental spaceman, Srila Prabhupada says. He can travel anywhere just by his thought. And the main business of Narad Muni is to give devotional service to any soul who is very, very eager or keen to accept. So Narad Muni is a very, very powerful personality. We can see in Panchatattva also, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to come, it is Panchatattva are, all the four except Narad Muni are the expansions of the Lord Vishnu. But the devotee expansion is actually Shiva's Thakur, is none other than Narad Muni. Also in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, third chapter, Krishna, the source of incarnations, it is explained that Narad Muni was a third incarnation of the Purusha avatars. So we can see that Narad Muni is such a powerful personality, and he is chosen here, and this is how the stories, the narration begins. And we can see in this all the narrations, mainly when Narad Muni is going to any particular devotee, he is trying to glorify the devotee. That is, Srila Prabhupada says that the business of a devotee is to appreciate other devotees. Please, this is a very important lesson in the life of devotees. We must understand that whenever possible, we should not miss the opportunity to appreciate or glorify a devotee. Because when we do that, it naturally helps us in progressing in our devotional service. So Narad Muni here wonderfully is glorifying devotees, and whichever devotee he is glorifying, they, instead of accepting, yes, I am such a perfect devotee, out of their humility, they always want to justify that how they are not the good recipient of the mercy of the Lord, that they have actually so many faults. So always they want to downplay their role, and they want to in turn glorify other devotees. So that is the whole process of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. It brings out the beautiful lessons of humility, appreciation, glorification, unity, cooperation amongst all the devotees. And these are very important lessons for all devotees to absorb or to to follow in our lives. Because when we will follow these great qualities in our life, then actually we will become a genuine Vaishnava. And then at least if we become a genuine devotee, at least we have a chance to understand Lord Shri Krishna.
So let us begin this beautiful journey, my dear friends. Let us all, Parikshit Maharaj, out of his great love for his mother, is beginning this discussion, which was originally spoken, as we have heard, by Jaimini Rishi to Janmejaya. And it is a group of great, wonderful devotees who are assembled in this holy place of Prayag, and that too in the holy month of Magh, during the Magha Mela. We all know this very, very special significance of the Magha Mela. That is the time where the Kumbh Mela takes place. So all these devotees have assembled, and after having darshan of Sri Madhav, it is explained Sri Madhav, but this is basically the same murti of the Veni Madhav deity, the beautiful, the most presiding deity of Prayag. After having the beautiful darshan of Madhav, the devotees are so happy. Why are devotees happy? And why should devotees be happy? The devotees were happy because they have a chance to be in the holy land of Prayag. They have a chance in this most holy month to be in prayer. They have a chance to have the beautiful darshan of Lord Madhav in this holy land of prayer. And they have a chance to associate with each other. This is devotees' pleasure and nothing else. The devotees are not happy discussing about what sense gratificatory uh, items that we have and want to share with each other. No, that's not what brings them happiness. The only thing that it should bring happiness, the bliss amongst devotees, is when devotees are together in this holy land discussing about Krishna. So they were assembled in this holy land of Prayag, having the darshan of Radha of Madhav. And what were they discussing? They're discussing about only one thing. Who has really been recipient of Krishna's mercy? And everyone was saying, you have been the recipient of Krishna's mercy. Because you have got such beautiful qualities. They said, no, not me. You have been the greatest quality recipient of Krishna's mercy. And that's how they were discussing. It is explained by our acharyas that when Vaishnava are friendly with one another like this, their community prospers. Very important lesson of community development. We all are staying in communities. We all believe in the importance of Vaishnava Sangha or Vaishnava community. But when does the community prosper? When does it grow? Both qualitatively and quantitatively. How does it prosper? It prospers when each and every devotee who is so very satisfied and nourished, Atma Ramascha Munyo Nirghante Apadukar, one who is in that situation. It is a long drawn process. Atmaram is a very long process. I mean, none of us, at least I am not on that level, but we are all trying to be satisfied being devotees of Krishna. And through the satisfaction, we are trying to find the pleasure in glorifying other devotees. It is in that situation that community prospers, as Acharyas have mentioned. So one very important lesson of community development, to be happy, to find and to be seeking, not seeking to find faults in others. It's so easy to find faults in others. You have a white bed sheet. Would it be difficult to find a black spot in the bed sheet? Is obviously because the whole background is white. But the real importance is that we find the good qualities in a Vaishnava. We find that what is the wonderful thing that this Vaishnava is really made up of. So these devotees were assembled there, and then all devotees were waiting, and there came a very opulent Brahmana. He had a lot of opulence, lot of followings, but he was a pure devotee of the Lord. It is explained very clearly. The name is not mentioned. Unnamed Brahmana it is mentioned, but very opulent and very devoted. Many times, it is not easy to have opulence and still be devotee. It is said that it's easier for an elephant to be passing through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to become a devotee of the Lord. But our shastras have proved it wrong. So many beautiful examples of people who have so much of opulence, but still they're wonderful devotees of the Lord. And this was one such Brahmana. He came to this beautiful place of Prayag, and specifically at the place of Dasashamedva Ghat. My dear friends, Dasashamedva Ghat is a place where later on, it is a place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to instruct Rupa Goswami about the science of devotional service. At the same holy place of Dasashamedva Ghat, this Brahmana came and he set up a beautiful altar. He set up an altar, very ornate altar, and then he put the Shaligram Shila on that altar. And then it is explained that he put and then he performed various beautiful rituals with great devotion to this Shaligram Shila. He had unlimited devotion to Shaligram Shila. It is explained that to worship Shaligram, another very important lesson, it requires a lot of attentive devotional disposition. That the word used, attentive devotional disposition. It is not that every Tom, Dick and Harry or every person can worship Shaligram. It requires a lot of qualification. So this person was worshipping, and part of the worship, my dear friends, was so very complete in his worship that he organized a festival of singing, dancing, and playing music. And they explained by the acharyas that for worship of the devotees, there should be constant festivals, and that is what I see is the success of every single temple of ISKCON, and that's the success of Srila Prabhupada's mission. Because the whole process of Krishna consciousness, as given to us by the ISKCON society, is simply a process of festivities. We simply need a reason to celebrate. Huh? That's Vaishnava culture. Oh, my newly born son has just turned. Let us have a festival. And that is what Vaishnava life is all about. So this Brahmana had arranged a beautiful festival of singing and dancing, and everybody was dancing. And my dear friends, please understand, all the sages, including Narad Muni, are all seeing the devotion of this Brahmana. And after he had worshipped with great devotion, see, many times when we worship, we are just so happy worshipping ourselves. But the glory of the worship, the perfection of the worship, or the completion of the worship is when this worship, the benefits of the worship is given to everybody and anybody. So this Brahmana was very, very compassionate, because the sign of devotion is compassion. If you think you have devotion, but you don't have feelings of compassion for others, then there is something really shallow in your devotion. A devotional person has deep love for Krishna, and a sign of deep love for Krishna is compassion for others. So this person, after worshipping, and he had a beauty, as I said, it was a festival. There was almost chappan bhog, as a big feast for the Shaligram, big huge quantities of feast, because he was rich, he had opulence, so he had made a big feast. But then he went out. And then he went out and he distributed this feast to anybody that was there, to the Brahmanas, to the Chandalas, even the animals were present, to the dogs, as explained, to the jackals. Everybody who was present there, he fed profusely. He gave them the remnants, and after he had offered, this is a very interesting thing, something which really struck my heart, and something which I learned when I was reading this. After we had done all the distribution of the bhoga, he got his family. And then, before they honored the remnants of, after giving to everybody what was remaining, before he honored, he came in front of the Shaligram. And he explained, he folded his hands, and he offered all the pious credits that he had earned from the sacrifice back to his Lord, the Shaligram Shri. Idam na mama is explained by acharyas. Idam na mama. That whatever benefit I have does not belong to me. Idam na mama belongs to you. And that is what is a beautiful lesson we all learn. Whatever good thing, my dear friends, we are able to do in devotional service is by the mercy of Guru and Krishna in our life. And whatever we do, whatever achievements we do, we should really in our hearts immediately offer the fruits of those back to our Guru, back to Krishna, back to Radha Gopinath, by saying Idam na mama, not just by saying by our mouth, my dear friends, but by meaning from our heart. Because whatever we do, whatever money we earn, whatever glorification we earn, whatever respect we earn, doesn't belong to us. It is like borrowed plumes. You cannot be proud of borrowed plumes. It is explained, it's an English proverb. Borrowed plumes is basically, in English people, the plumes are basically coats. And some people who could not afford very, very opulent clothes, they would just borrow it from somebody. But can you be proud of something which is borrowed? And that's all what we are made up of. The borrowed mercy, the borrowed, Krishna says, I am the ability in man, I am the strength of the strong. So whatever mercy, whatever we do is because of the mercy of the Lord. If we do not have this disposition of idam na mama, then we will experience what is called the punara mushika bhava. This beautiful story, very simply mentioned, that a rat came to a sadhu and said, please sadhu, the cat disturbs me, please make me a cat. The sadhu said, okay, become the cat. And then after some time, the same cat came to sadhu, he said, the dogs are disturbing me, please my dear sadhu, please make me a dog. So be it, you become a dog. And then the sadhu, and then the dog came and said, the the tiger who roars in the nearby forest. I become very scared. Please make me a tiger. The sadhu said, become a tiger. And when the dog became a tiger, tiger looked at the sadhu and said, now I'm going to capture you. I'm going to eat you. And the tiger came running towards the sadhu, and the sadhu raised his hand and he said, Punara Mushika Bhava, again become a rat. Again become a rat. From a powerful tiger, again become a rat. What do we learn from this? That we all, basically, at least I can say for myself, we are all like squeaking tiny rats. But because of the sadhu in our life, because of the Krishna factor in our life, we may be doing wonderful activities, we may be doing Herculean activities. But because of the blessing of the sadhu in our life, but if we think that is by our own endeavor, at any point of time, the mercy is withdrawn. From a roaring tiger, we can become a squeaking rat. And that's the importance of idam na mama. A very important lesson to be learned. That whatever we do should be offered back to Krishna. And then when Narad Muni saw this wonderful exhibition of devotion of this Brahmana, Narad Muni became ecstatic. As Kishori beautifully explained, Narad Muni is simply seeking the essence. He becomes happy to see other people's devotion. And he said, oh wow, what a devotion you have. You have opulence, you have devotion, you have compassion, and you have the right understanding of devotion. You are indeed the person who have achieved the mercy of the Lord. You are indeed the person who has received the Lord's mercy. And then then it's explained. This person said, you know what? I'm a wretched person. How much charity can I give? What sort of opulence do I have? And how much does the Lord reciprocate with me? I don't have anything. If you really want to really know the glory, here it begins, my dear friend. It begins here. He said, I don't have. You want to go the real glory, you have to go to South India. The south of the country, there's a kingdom, and there's a king, the southern king, who has many, many temples and many, many demigods whom he worships. And he is indeed the person who has received the Lord's mercy. It is here that people from all over the world explain. It is written in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. People coming from all over the world. That means it was a worldwide movement at that time as well. People would coming from all over the world, and people would come to worship, to see the devotion of the Lord. The people, it's in this country. He was saying that in this country, the people are so pure, the people are so regulated in their sadhana because of the king's devotion. And he explained it is in this kingdom, they don't have to really till the fields. There's adequate rain which falls, and the crops automatically grow. And it's explained that it will rain only in the night period, because so that it doesn't give any trouble to people. During the daytime, it would be beautifully sun shining. In the night, it would rain. What's happening now? Because everything is topsy-turvy. And the whole Mother Nature is not just not happy with us, but she is very angry and she is very gruesome. And you can see what sort of things are getting thrown on us. But because this king was beautifully worshipping, there was luxuriant growth. And then he said, you should go to that place to worship to meet this southern king. Narad Muni said, oh really? I must go. I'm seeking who has received the Krishna's mercy. So the Narad Muni went to meet the southern king. And he went to the southern king. He met him. He said, you know something? I've been seeing you. I've heard about you. You have indeed received the greatest mercy of the Lord. Narad Muni met the king. And Narad Muni, as a sign of great happiness, what did he do when a great devotees become very happy? And one of the signs is they embrace. And Narad Muni was again and again embracing this king. He said, you are so special that you have received the special mercy of the Lord. And the king says, oh, what are you talking? I have not received the special mercy of the Lord. He said, you talk about lifespan. I have a very short lifespan. You talk about opulence. I have very little opulence. You talk about independence. I have very little independence. And he explains, this is the tendency of human beings. He explains, I'm constantly attacked by fear and ruled by the threefold miseries. I cannot even understand the words of Krishna. I don't even understand what his mercies are about. And I really don't understand what compassion is. But if you really want to really understand the glory, I really want to understand who really is glorious, you should go to the people who do not have these three miseries. We should go to the people who have a very sattvic life, who are not fearful about birth, old age, disease, and death, or at least about disease and old age. We should go to the demigods, and then he reveals the name of where he should go.
And the name is revealed about Indra. So now Narad Muni, we can see that from Bhuloka, from the earth planet, he straight away goes to Swargaloka, heavenly planet. And as he is approaching the heavenly planet, he is seeing that Lord Vishnu, in the form of Lord Vamandev, he is sitting with his consort Kirti Devi, and all the residents of Swargaloka are worshipping him with singing different hymns and then offering him arti and bhoga, and everybody is busy worshipping. And Lord Vamandev is sitting, and next to him is Indra is sitting. So Narada Muni waits till the time the entire worship gets over, and as Vamandev's worship is finished, Kirti Devi at the end offers, Brihad Bhagavatam very beautifully narrates that she offers a betel nut pan, and Lord Vamandev chews that, and he thanks all of them, and he says, now I am leaving, and he leaves for his planet. And as he is going, he pays obeisances to Kashyap and Aditi, and then he looks at Indra, and then he leaves from that place. As soon as Vamandev leaves, Narad Muni approaches King Indra. He waits, proper Vaishnava etiquette, that when the Lord is worshipped, he doesn't approach Indra. And then he starts glorifying Indra Dev. That, my dear Indra, you are the person who are the greatest recipient of Lord Shri Krishna's mercy. Can you imagine that you have your younger brother as Lord Vishnu, Vamandev, who resides with you, who comes to accept your worship? All the demigods, sun god, moon god, Varuna, Vayu, everybody, they obey orders. Whatever orders you give, they obey. You are such a great personality. In Vedas, you are praised again and again. It is said that Indra is actually praised as good as Lord Narayan. He's saying so many good things, and Narad Muni is just glorifying Indra. And as soon as Narad Muni stops, Indra immediately says, no, Narad Muni, I do not deserve this. Do you know what does it mean to rule heavenly planets? It is not easy. We are in constant fear that the demons will attack. And so many times the demons attack and we get defeated. Bali Maharaj, when he attacked and he defeated us, and in the position of the sun, moon, Vayu, Varun, he put all the demons. So it is not easy. I am not that qualified. And you say that Lord Vamandev appears as my younger brother. He doesn't appear because of my devotion. He is not staying here because of my devotion. He appeared here because my dear mother and father, they prayed for Lord Vishnu to appear, and they performed intense tapasya. And then after some time, just to fulfill their wish, just to fulfill my mother's desire that I get my kingdom back, Lord Vamandev appeared through her womb. So it is not because of my devotion. It is because of the devotion and prayers and austerities of my parents. And once Vamandev appeared, ideally he should have challenged Bali Maharaj, attacked him, and should have defeated him and given me my kingdom back. Instead of that, he approached him as a Brahmana, and in charity he got my kingdom back. So can you imagine that actually Bali Maharaj is very dear to Lord Vamandev. So I am not that great. And you think that, I am a great devotee and Vedas praise me. But every time, you please understand that I am in such a fearful position, I am so fearful about my position. And among the demigods also, there is envy, there is rivalry and constant fear of losing the position. And you know that so many times, whenever somebody performs any tapasya on the earthly planet, I send apsaras, because I am scared that if they become powerful, they will become the king of heavenly planet. So I am not at all qualified. Forget that, my dear brother, when he has, appeared as Krishna, and when Lord Shri Krishna appeared, he came to heavenly planet. He just took the Sudharma hall. without even asking me. And because he wanted to please Yadavas, and his wife demanded the Parijat tree, he just took the Parijat tree. And both Parijat tree and Sudharma's hall are still on the earthly planet. So how can you tell that actually I am the recipient of the great mercy? And forget that. When in Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj and all the Brijbasis they used to perform yearly puja for me. Krishna made them stop doing that puja. And instead of me, he asked that they should worship Govardhan. And when they started worshipping Govardhan, do you know what did I do? I became so envious that actually I tried to destroy entire Vrindavan. How can you tell that I am a great devotee? You can see the genuine, humble nature of Indra here. And then he said that also, my dearmost place is Khandaprastha. My dearmost forest is Khanda forest. And just to fulfill the desire of Agni, because he had some stomach pain and he was hungry, with the help of his friend Arjuna, he captured the Khanda forest. So I am not very dear. And one of the greatest devotee of Lord Shri Krishna, Vritrasur. Actually, I was asked by different demigods to kill Vritrasur because he was disturbing the construction of the universe because he had trapped the ocean between the mountains. I killed Vritrasur, but it was the most tragic experience for me because he was such a powerful devotee. And after I killed him, I was repenting so much. So I have no good qualification. Even when sometimes when the Indra is, nobody is there to rule heavenly planet, the Lord himself takes the position of Indra and he appeared through Subra and his wife as Vikunta. And at that time, his wife said that I don't like this Amravati, heavenly planet. So he destroyed Amravati and he established a Vaikuntha planet instead of heavenly planet, a Ramapriya in the material world. So you can see that how much the Lord is actually not favoring me. And you are telling me I am the greatest recipient of His mercy. In fact, I have no qualification. If you actually want to go, if you actually want to know who is that person who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of Lord Krishna, you should go to your father. Your father who is born directly from the navel of Lord Vishnu. And he is the original creator, maintainer, and he gives different karma, as per the different karmas of the living entities, he gives them the body and also he destroys. So he is the one most powerful personality and he is such a dear devotee that in my planet, when Vamandev comes and I offer him some worship, and at the end when he is going, sometimes he tells me that now I am going and I may not come back and you can worship Brahma and Shiva. They are equal to me. So he thinks that I can just worship Brahma and Shiva. I am not even a good worshipper. So Indra is actually exhibiting a sign of great humility and finding fault with himself. A Vaishnava, he should be strict with oneself and lenient with others. So here we can see that Indra is very strict with himself. He is judging himself that how he has made so many mistakes. He cannot be the recipient. And he says, Vamandev tells me like this that you worship Brahma and Shiva, but in Brahmaloka, Lord Vishnu resides always eternally as Mahapurusha. He has thousands of heads, and with the thousands of heads, he is accepting all the offerings. Their continuous sacrifices are going on. I am Indra who in one life I worship Lord Vamandev. But in Lord Brahma, 14 Indras, they pass in one day of Brahma, right? And in such one day, one night, like that 360 days and 100 years, so many Indras come and go. And in that tenure, Lord Brahma worships Mahapurush, who has Sahasra Shrisha, and he is worshipping them with great love and devotion, with great sacrifices. And Lord accepts with all the love. And he stays there. He stays there. He has made a Vaikuntha planet in Brahmaloka. Vaikuntha area in Brahmaloka. and he constantly stays with Brahmaji. So can you imagine how great is your father? In fact, he is the recipient of Lord's mercy. So we can learn here from this pastime of Lord Indra, the South India king, and the Brahmana, that every devotee, he has a humble heart and they hate to be praised, and their greatest joy is to speak about the good qualities about other devotees. So, joy of every devotee is to glorify other devotees about them, and we must carefully, we should exercise in our own heart that do we have this quality. It's not that I am telling you so I possess this quality, but we must peep in, introspect in our life that do we have this quality of humbling ourselves and glorifying and appreciating other devotees. Somehow or other, we need to cultivate this quality of appreciation and feel humble and menial in a way so that we can actually serve other devotees. As we have promised at the time of our initiation that we will serve in the mood of servant of servant of servant. So we can see here that how each of this devotee, as we go further, that they always want to praise other devotees. And in the material world, when we see that somebody else progresses more, that we get envy. But in a spiritual world or in Krishna consciousness, the natural consciousness of a devotee is whenever he or she sees other devotee receiving more mercy of Krishna, then they appreciate it, they glorify it, and in that process, they themselves also progress in their Krishna consciousness. So with this lesson, I think we will end today's talk and we will continue tomorrow.
Yeah, so let us just meditate upon this one line, that the test of a relationship with a Vaishnava is not how loyal we are when they suffer or when they are going through some difficulties, but how thrilled we are when they succeed. So with this, we'd like to end, and tomorrow we will go on to meet, and see how the Narad Muni goes on to meet Lord Brahma and other further devotees. We have one more session tomorrow. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sripad Narad Muni ki jai, Shri Brihad Bhagavatamrita ki jai.
RG Media YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe.